Hi, this is Dan LaMontagne. It's Sunday, April 25th, 2010. Well, I just wanted to finally bring to light what I actually think is going to happen to the economy, seeing as though this is the Great Economic Debate YouTube site. And I'm going to begin by saying that my views are very consistent with those of Peter Schiff, who is running for Senate in the state of Connecticut, Lou Rockwell, who is a Austrian economist, Ron Paul, who is a politician in the House of Representatives in the state of Texas, 14th District. Those are my role models in terms of who I believe actually understands what's going on with the economy. And I would like to formally explain my own view on what is happening with the economy and just say that those are my inspirations. So essentially what's going on with the economy is we have too much borrowing and spending and not enough production and savings. And I'm totally stealing that line from Peter Schiff, but it's completely true. If you think about it, at the government level, all we ever hear on television is, what is the consumer doing? What is consumer spending going to be like in the next year? What is consumer spending going to be like in the next 3 years? And to be honest, I don't care what consumer spending is going to be like. Consumer spending is not a function of economic growth. Consumer spending is a function of debt. And if you think about, whenever you go out and spend money at the grocery store or spend money at the mall or spend money when you're at the movies, it's not a function of how much you're worth, it's a function of how much you owe. So if you think about government's very similar. If you send the government out on a shopping spree and then tell it, spend whatever you want, and the more you spend, you're going to be richer, of course they're going to spend as much as they want because they think that, they can get away with it and they think that they can grow the economy. And what's worse is the government, unlike us, has a printing press. And that's called the Federal Reserve. I'm not going to belabor the point by explaining how exactly that works, but basically Congress gives power to a private organization to print our money and then to use that money in ways which they see fit. And essentially they have an unlimited supply of paper dollars to spend at the government level, but that is at the expense of the people who actually work hard and produce and make a living on that money. So essentially, as hard as you work, you're going to lose that money as the dollar is being printed at the Federal Reserve. So let me get back to my original question about what exactly is going to happen to the United States economy. Well, in short, it's going to crash. I'm not sure exactly when. It's probably going to be maybe within the next 5 to 6 years. I would say that we're going to see a significant pullback well, we're not going to necessarily see a crash in the Dow. I mean, this is one of the things that is a misnomer. People think market crash always corresponds with stock market crash. Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, in the case of the Great Depression, yes, we did have a stock market crash. But there are certain situations in which a economic crash will not necessarily correlate with a stock market crash. And here's what I mean by that. So if you think about what exactly is going on in government. Now I'm explaining what the Federal Reserve is. The Federal Reserve, like I said before, is an agency which has the power to regulate the amount of money, the currency that's in the economy. It also has the authority given by Congress to regulate interest rates, to regulate the interest rates that it can loan to the large banks. It loans it loans money to your Bank of America, to your Citigroup, all these, Merrill Lynch, all these big companies that you've seen that are too big to fail. These are the companies that the Federal Reserve is loaning money to try to prop up the economy. And so what's going on is the federal government and the Federal Reserve are working in tandem, and essentially the money supply, the amount of dollars in the system is increasing. So if you think about it as a function of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with algebra or pre-calculus, but when you talk about something and being a function of something else, you're saying that something is dependent upon something else. So what is dependent upon the money supply increasing? Well, when the money supply increases, cost of living goes up. cost of goods goes up. So if you think about it, if you were to increase the amount of water, let's say water bottles. Say you have 1,000 water bottles in the whole world, okay? This is probably a really weird example, but if you have 1,000 water bottles in the whole world, imagine how much those water bottles would actually cost. People who want to buy bottled water would have to pay a premium to buy that bottled water. But if you increase the bottled water supply to 100 million bottles, well, people aren't going to have to search as far and wide for that bottled water. They're going to have a much easier time getting it, therefore the demand goes down, therefore the price goes down. And, if you were to increase it from 100 million to 100 billion, maybe 100 trillion, maybe 100 quadrillion, the more and more you increase the supply of an item, the less and less and less people demand that item. Now, if you think about it in terms of money, money is, in the United States, a paper currency. And so paper currencies can be printed, and printed currency, just like water bottles, will decrease in value if you print more and more and more of it. And the problem with paper money is it's so easy for the government to print. They can print trillions of dollars without even a blink. They don't even have to print it now. They actually can just inject it electronically into the system. They can loan banks by electronic credits. They can just say this bank now has an extra $200 billion. They can just say that we gave you that much money. We put it into your bank account, and now you have that much money to loan to your well, not a bank account, but $200 billion to loan to your banking clients. So these are the things that the Federal Reserve is doing. So as the Federal Reserve increases the money supply, we are seeing a depreciation in all of our dollars. Because if you think about the water example, as the water increases, as the amount of water increases, anybody who actually holds bottled water in their refrigerator just realized how much cheaper it got. If you went out and bought a bottled water for $20 a bottle because there was only 10,000 bottles on the planet Earth, you got ripped off because a couple months the government was able to create another 100 million bottles of water, and so your bottled water now became a lot cheaper, so you overpaid for it. So basically what's going on with the money supply is a very similar example. People who earned their money a year or two ago were able to earn that money it was much harder for them to earn that money, but now today that amount of money doesn't buy as much. And so what's going on is inflation. That is the definition of inflation. You have an increase in the money supply. And it takes a period of time for the market, the financial markets, for the stock market to realize what's going on at the government level. It takes time for people to realize how much additional cash or how much additional water is actually present in the system. But once the people realize how much money, how much water is in the system, they lower their prices. And so essentially, as the dollar loses value, prices actually, as counterintuitive as it sounds, they go up. So, because if you think of a dollar as any other type of good, if the demand for the dollar goes down, that means it takes more dollars for you to use to purchase any other good that you want to purchase. So what's going to happen in this next 5-6 years or so is you're going to have a realization. First of all, there's going to be a certain amount of money printing as well. And so as the money printing at the Federal Reserve continues, this is also going to increase inflation and make the situation worse. But eventually we're going to have an epiphany at the public's level, and they're going to realize it's not just going to be the public's level, it's going to be worldwide, because the Federal Reserve is printing money not just for the United States, but it's printing money all over the world. We actually have what's called the reserve currency of the world. So most people who want to purchase different sorts of commodities throughout the world actually have to go through the United States dollar to do that. And that actually